I'm gonna miss friends' parties.
I think I'm gonna miss, probably showers.
I'm going to miss my bed, my Nintendo 64, my Super Nintendo.
You and me both, buddy. We got bigger fish to fry today. Earlier this summer, Chip and Joanna Gaines launched a new reality show called Back to the Frontier. It's not really new.
3 families are about to go back in time.
I feel almost like I've been sentenced to 5 months hard labor.
Both of them feature people going back in time, the 1880s, to cosplay as homesteaders. And it's like a cute little historical thing. Stuff happens, and we learn vicariously through the participants. Like, they did what back then? They had to work how hard back then?
This is like a combination of a runaway Stairmaster and elliptical.
But hey, even though there's some occasional suffering...
No, seriously, I was just like going over to get some sticks and then he goes bazzacco.
Through the hardship, they get closer as a family, and maybe that's not so bad. Good old classic America. Yeah, classic America. Come to think of it, the frontier is what made us who we are, right? You know, brave, rugged families charting their own destinies. It's what's in our blood. It's what our nation stands for. So these shows won't just be addressing history. They also have to confront the folklore and myths that have grown even more expansive than the frontier itself. Not too long after Back to the Frontier dropped, Judy Berman wrote an article for Time that touched on a few of the show's pitfalls in doing so. The first is how the new show presents the frontier as a more virtuous, hard-working way of life, setting it as this morally superior alternative to what we all do now. Which is maybe silly. I don't know, why don't we glamorize working 60 hours a week between Walmart or McDonald's? What really is an honest day's work anyway? The article also draws attention to how participants in the show aren't just jumping back through time, they're also jumping many levels down the economic pyramid. And that's never explicitly addressed. It makes the social experiment a little flawed, I think, when these folks...
I think we live a pretty lavish life.
...would probably not be the ones starting from scratch in the frontier.
Ah. Y'all, we literally sit on that? Yes.
Alexa, make an announcement.
So what's the deal? Why are reality shows going back to the frontier anyway? I think it's because the frontier remains this alluring foundational myth of American culture, where so long as you work hard enough, you can have your own little slice of heaven. And that story alone is a reminder powerful enough to substitute for real, actionable change to make conditions better in the country today.
The main reason that we are doing this is because we want to grow food, we want to live off the land simpler, get away from the technology, go back to doing things ourselves.
The Homestead Act of 1862 is pretty wacky, and these two shows are especially wacky. So I think we can learn a lot about our country from comparing their approaches.
Gordon brings up one more issue about firearms. I think I'm just going to shoot him.
Just a little romp through a television.
Under the Homestead Act, passed during the Civil War, 160 acres were available for a nominal filing fee. 60% of the homesteaders didn't survive the 5 years required to prove up their land and secure ownership. Our challenge: Can modern-day families last 5 months and prepare for a Montana winter under the same conditions? Even today, the quest for the American dream echoes loudly.
With some new clothes and supplies, they're off on their own. Mostly. Let me just get this out of the way immediately. Even though these two shows share the exact same premise, they really feel nothing alike. Frontier House was just a different, less sanitized time for reality TV.
Hear, hear. Catherine Howard will be executed by the decree of the king. And off with her head.
I get the right leg.
No, don't celebrate and don't laugh. This isn't a funny thing.
Your letter mentioned something about central heating in multi-stories.
And it was really embarrassing when we had to sing Polly Wolly Doodle all day. I thought it was fun. You would.
You know, I knew coming in here this wasn't the easiest job, especially with these kids.
There's probably just a lot of magic that's impossible to replicate in 2025. We should also acknowledge the difference in networks they aired on. One might assume that the PBS one will be more educational, and it'll be more entertaining on HBO. Or Magnolia Network, which is owned by Warner Bros. Discovery, and they also own HBO, and maybe it's all gonna get bought by Paramount anyway. Is anyone keeping track of this? Anyway, don't assume anything. One last logistical thing. Frontier House had 2 fewer episodes, but double the time on the Frontier. And this ripples into a much bigger authenticity problem for the new show. A lot of tasks were done for the new cast, probably, to make up for some of that time. So on one end, you have poor Nate Brooks sleeping in a tent with his dad because he had to build his house from scratch. The Hannah Riggs family had a crooked outhouse, I guess. The cast in Frontier House had 2 weeks of training before being mostly isolated for 5 months. And the new show has 2 months of learning on the job with a complete answer book at their fingertips. They never really get to settle into the Frontier. It becomes more of a amusement park attraction. Now, you could say, well, maybe Frontier House was just cruel.
So, Connor, what's up?
I'm hungry.
Why are you hungry?
Because we haven't gotten no food. I can't live without food for like 2 or 1 more day. I'm starving.
Yeah, probably. But if we're supposed to get a complete image of life homesteading, it's not pretty slaughtering the animals, but it just feels weird that the other families get to pay someone to do the dirty work for them.
I got a few things for you.
This is like a horror film Christmas morning of...
Anyway, I'm not gonna talk about them all tilling fields or pickling vegetables or eating beans. Who cares? Why are these people even here? Not like the cast members, but I mean, if it's so hard out there, why did real-life human beings come out? Seeking opportunity, sure, I guess, is the common refrain, but opportunity from what? And for that matter, why was the government even giving away free land? Are we talking about this government? No way. Well, all this isolation, I think, makes it easy to forget the context of the time. The Industrial Revolution. So sometimes people wanted to get away from this. Frederick Jackson Turner, known for his frontier thesis, suggested homesteading as a release for the growing pressures of unemployment, low wages, and inequality in the East. Epic sauce. Cool. I think it's worth, considering that, yeah, we're gonna hear about homesteading as a liberating opportunity for some people. Not all people, though. And isn't it kind of lame that the government chose against addressing things at home in favor of seemingly infinite growth? Especially when the free land was, like, not entirely suitable to farming anyway. If less than half the people would make it, I guess that's a successful policy? Is it? I don't know. Why not make opportunity at home? Because that would require a challenge to industrialists consolidating their power, maybe. Anyway, let's get back on topic.
Do you wonder if the dead can see you? Get in my car, and I'll show you they can. My name is Thomas John. I'm a psychic medium, and I become a rideshare driver so I can share my gift with the masses.
No matter how epic the concept of a show is, the cast is make or break. Sorry, Thomas John. I'm not gonna ride in your unregulated taxi cab.
You didn't know too. Hold on 1 second. He said, "Did you get sick or something?"
But I am sorry you're not eligible for union benefits, and I wish you didn't need to work 2 jobs simultaneously to pay rent.
He had a stroke when he passed.
The Frontier House cast is often dominated by the epic battle between the Glens and the Clunes.
I think because they're West Coast cutie pies that they can't hang. Set your priorities. We house their animals for almost 3 weeks. My animals are well fed, my children are well fed, and honey, if you didn't understand that when you applied for this, then you were just on some little glitz trip. Obviously, I'm not doing this to be in a damn movie. I look like hell.
They're preoccupied with fair play. Karen basically just spews a lot of foul things and a lot of accusation things out of her mouth. Kind of like we had diarrhea here when we got here for the first 4 weeks. She's pretty much had diarrhea of the mouth ever since she's been here.
Gordon Clune is toxically independent and failing by his own pride.
The Clunes can't afford a liquor license, so Gordon is breaking the law.
But this is partially a distraction from her marital issues.
Have you asked me how I've been feeling? Who do you answer to?
I answer to my own
No one.
conscience.
That sets yourself up as God.
Okay.
I think my wife has turned into some type of Hitler.
At least, the Glens can both agree on hating Gordon Clune.
What is the difference between you right now and Gordon Clune? Nothing.
What is the difference between you and Gordon Clune? Nothing.
Because I don't tell
Always
anybody
wanting to run.
And there's a lot of kids running all over the place.
The only good idea I got of good happening today was me trying to set a world record by being this most smelly kid on earth, so by not taking a bath in a long time.
Meanwhile, Nate Brooks is caught in the middle of all of this, and he is just a perfect beacon of light.
Hey, ladies. Hey, your hands getting cold?
Oh, my legs are cold. This is all I have to wear.
Here, give me a turn.
Dear Lord, he is so thoughtful and just a good guy, and he's funny too.
I mean, there's several things I'm not good at, but I should be able to cook pancakes on the frontier, you know? I mean, this is what's pissing me off. Baking powder and baking soda. Who the f knows what these things do?
Back to the Frontier has an epic battle too, I guess.
Lot number 3. 1 fat cow. Opening bid is $450.
$460.
Going once?
No, $525.
$730 sounds good to me.
Oh, $9.
$10.
It's theirs, baby. It's theirs.
All right.
We just wanted to drive them all the way up there. I probably shouldn't have said what I said about driving the price up.
And you know, that's like kind of it.
It's extremely, weird.
It's awkward because we're here, they're here.
The tension with the halls is pretty bad. I'm just still trying to wrap my head around how it became so personal.
So we have to treat each other with kindness, be productive, and love your neighbor as yourself.
I'm kind of taking everything that happens in these shows at face value, assuming it's real, And if that is the case, I think it is at least an interesting little peek at how the way we argue has changed over time. Like here, it already starts on shaky grounds. It's like kind of pointless. But then everyone's too awkward to address it directly. So it's all just a bunch of avoidance while resentment builds for no reason. Man, maybe that's accurate, but sure is. That's boring. Every character is an archetype with one specific flaw that, at some point, conveniently gets resolved by frontier life. Can family-friendly reality TV not handle three-dimensional characters anymore? Or does everyone need to just put on a smiling face so their online businesses aren't jeopardized? Either way, it hurts the entertainment value and really cheapens the storytelling, in my opinion. You know, Gordon Clune is fun to watch because he's a psycho.
And that's the American spirit.
And sometimes you even root for him because he kind of speaks truth to power and he breaks the rules a little bit. And Karen Glenn, she's intensely frustrating. Because, like, she's so mean, but she's, like, usually right. So, like, you hate to see her win, but, like, damn, she gets it. They learn lessons, but they're still flawed and complex. The tech-obsessed gay dads learn how to cut back on frivolous spending, and the off-brand Gordon Clune learns that community is a good thing. You know, it sure seems like being out in the frontier just purges all the evils of modern society. And it only takes 2 months. Not bad. Over in the real world, Back to the Frontier got some bad press because it included the Hannah Riggs family.
Highlighted two men married to one another with two boys as their family.
My concerns, not only about practicing surrogacy, but also promoting it by normalizing this kind of family setup.
How can you profess to be a Christian and then celebrate a lifestyle that is very clear
that embraces
in the
sinful.
Bible?
And you might be wondering, how does the show address a gay family?
And coming back to the 1880s, like, there were no two-dad families.
Oh? We're going with erasure? Later on, they do kind of touch on it again.
But there is no doubt the homestead community contains same-sex couples. The remote rural nature of many homesteads made it easier for gay men to live their lives and run a successful homestead together.
The challenges that we faced were probably nothing compared to the 1880s.
They also talk about slavery.
So this was the opportunity that people have been waiting for, because this is freedom.
To be a slave, and then all of a sudden have an opportunity to live free.
Having an opportunity to own my own land after I've had to farm somebody else's land for them, after I've maybe had to keep somebody else's house for them, I now get the opportunity to do all of that for me and my family on the frontier.
I mean, the show is consistently presenting an idea that minoritized groups had a way out of oppression by honing in on individual cases that bucked the trend of structural issues. It reminds us that our problems today are objectively less bad, right? And if they could do it, why can't you? Not only are certain things legal or normalized now, look at how good technology is. Those people had to struggle for their freedom and opportunity, and now you just have it. Well, look, things have improved, sure. And people on the frontier broke a lot of that new ground. At best, though, once again, the frontier was a safety valve. Escaping the establishment is not the same as fundamentally changing it. And today, not only is there no more frontier to go around, so many of the challenges they're describing in the show as having gotten over still do exist. Back to the Frontier's cast often struggles not just with frontier life, but just like very normal things for many people today.
It's $6 for the land certificate. So that leaves me with 6 cents. That is not much for any extras. We cannot have any extras. We cannot have anything come up.
I'm not used to this. What we have to eat is canned ham.
Frontier House does a marginally better job with this, and you see it a lot through the classic Glenn versus Clune showdown. A lot of Karen's animosity comes from her being used to the struggle, while the Clunes need to learn. It starts feeling silly even comparing these shows when, like...
She has shooting pains in her arm and numbness in her fingers.
If I'm too stubborn that I don't follow up on this and something serious happens, then I've hurt the whole team. So I need to get it looked at.
She has made a difficult decision to break from the past and call a modern doctor.
I think you've got probably a tendonitis under your arm here with that, because I can feel this tendon and you have a lot of tenderness there whenever I mash on it, okay? Well, you need to avoid doing any heavy lifting with that arm. I know that's not easy to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost impossible in this lifestyle.
Sure. Of course, you get my bill.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right.
I think. Dr. Kirby Pendon. Charge to Miss Karen Glenn. Travel to Frontier Creek, $1 per mile. Oh my God. Consult fee and prescription fee, $46. That's a huge amount. I shouldn't have called him. I should have just dealt with it.
The doctor's bill is a blow to the Glens. It is almost a quarter of their entire savings.
I mean, we'll just deduct it from our sum and keep on going, but, you know, it makes me very cautious to ever call again, and that's sad because that's how medicine is now. People won't go to the doctor because they know they're going to get, you know, knifed in the back, so they'll stay at home and suffer with stuff that shouldn't be.
Meanwhile, should the Lopers buy a peach pie or not? The Halls need some income, so they'll just start a cute side hustle with branded mason jars. They'll sell it on Etsy.
These eggs are like gold here. We haven't had eggs for breakfast yet since, I think, more than a week. Storing up these eggs to have for the cake. And the same with the butter. And then I've got some more of Justin's inventions. I talked him into making me a whisk. He did this yesterday. I needed a whisk to whisk egg whites. So we're gonna test it for the first time here and see how it goes.
These shows feature real people and their reactions to a new situation. But for a comprehensive Frontier experience, we're gonna need a lot more than that. So many factors are gonna play into a realistic depiction, and not all of them are gonna come up naturally. We need experts. The cast isn't gonna naturally stumble across tribal communities, so Frontier House is gonna pull someone in to talk about land dispossession. while everyone falls asleep. I was getting worried that Back to the Frontier wasn't gonna address it at all, but then we get to the second to last episode, and there's one singular minute.
They weren't allowed to remain within their lands. That's tough.
Anyway, here's a list of some of the other human beings you see in Frontier House. Susan Kane, Hop Sing Yin, Rawhide Johnson, Bernie Wesgeber. Back to the Frontier has modern homesteading influencer Melissa Norris. Guys, what happened to the back in time thing? Weren't we going back in time? I'm actually gonna start with the show's other expert, Dr. Jacob Freifeld. He's the more traditional of the two, a historian of the era, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's an orthodox pick. A lot of his scholarship has been revisionist, challenging traditional academic ideas of the frontier. He questioned negative perceptions of the frontier's success rates, and, don't get me wrong, wait, where did you come from, bro? Did you walk all the way here in those khakis? So don't get me wrong, his work should be appreciated and explored further, right? Reevaluating knowledge we take for granted should always be encouraged. So it's not as much a critique of him or his work, but more a question about the context of the show using him as this sole historical representation. It becomes a choice, It's a choice. Speaking of choice, it's so weird and oddly specific that both of these shows chose the 1880s as their setting because the Homestead Act was a few decades old by that point, so most of the good slices of pizza were already taken. If anything, the myth of frontier opportunity was already being supplanted by a new necessity of farmers coming together. The agrarian populist movement was building, fighting to keep railroad monopolies in check, wealthy foreign speculators from taking their land, tax reform. I mean, come on, government doesn't just give freedom with a nice little golden Wonka ticket, right? It's an ongoing process. People have always had to fight for freedom together. Anyway, you can't fit it all in the show. This is Magnolia Network, a key part of the Tradwife XL pipeline. They got some other priorities. Listen, I don't doubt any expertise Melissa Norris has around homesteading. I don't know her like that either. But again, her inclusion as one of two experts sets off some more alarm bells, right? She's living proof, apparently, that it's possible to live the simple life that we now yearn for.
Am I going to want to eat goat bacon, or should I stick with the normal pork bacon?
As an 1880s homesteader, if your only option was goat meat, you would have used it as your protein source. Would you have enjoyed it as much as pork belly bacon? Probably not, but it is showing 1880s we use what we have rather than go without.
I don't know. Color me a bit skeptical of what she represents, right? There are a lot of folks out there pushing for an aesthetic built on hard labor and grit when there's a lot of money that got them there in the first place. It's prohibitively expensive for most to do modern homesteading, but as long as people see that it's technically possible, I know this show just seems like some wacky reality nonsense.
I swear I think I'm gonna be like #gluten-free. I hate wheat.
Right? There might not be some grand design or explicit message beyond just being more content to throw on in the lobby of a used car lot. But also, advertising yourself as a social experiment or a representation of frontier life while only presenting a narrow view is really playing with fire. Just because it's low stakes doesn't mean people won't learn, doesn't mean there's no accountability, right? The experts themselves might not even talk a whole lot on the show, but they do fill very particular roles of credibility that advance the narrative built by the show. Protect the myth, extend the myth.
I never knew that we'd have fun games that would be fun out here, but back home they'd be the boringest thing you ever heard. I've discovered imagination.
Myths are stories with power. Myths shape language. They shape thoughts. They shape what we think is right or even possible. They shape who we think we are. And the way Frederick Jackson Turner characterized the frontier dominated conversations about it for 100 years. Right? He placed the frontier as foundational to American identity. Unlimited opportunity, expansion, triumphant conquest, good folks who prevail over struggle. That's what an American longs for. Not only do we see it in media and art, but politicians invoke the idea.
The new frontier is here, whether we seek it or not. Beyond that frontier are uncharted areas of science and space, unsolved problems of peace and war.
And sure, a reasonable person will know that the glamorous depiction doesn't tell the whole story. Right? Future scholars are going to point to the frontier's basis in violence, damage to the environment, failure rates. And then someone like Freefeld comes along and it goes back around again. Maybe it was an overcorrection. But to me, squabbling over details is asking if the safety valve was an effective solution. Instead, what we could be asking is whether a safety valve is a solution at all. And that's the power of myth. What we might hold as fundamental truths could exist merely to protect the status quo. This concept is explored in John Gaventa's Power and Powerlessness. He asks why, in a mining community in the central Appalachian Valley, did workers not resist when faced with deep systemic injustices? Even though their land was exploited, their resources and labor extracted, and their livelihood dependent on absentee corporate executives, they seemed unusually supportive. And what he dives into is that power isn't just expressed through one person having more assets than another. It's also not just expressed through one group writing the rules in their favor. There's an invisible layer of power, a psychological one, that's driven through myth. So it became a common perception that in this valley, problems we face are from outside agitators. And the elites are rich, but they help us out. There's no use fighting back anyway because everyone's just trying their best to work toward the same goal. This valley is where people can make it through sacrifice. So ultimately, if someone fails, it's because they didn't try hard enough or made mistakes. All of these are repeated to the point where questioning any of those other forms of power, the laws in favor of the elites, it's not even an option on the game board. And of course, the frontier is one of the most prevalent American myths of all. Richard Slotkin addresses its effects over time, how it helps us justify violence for the sake of economic expansion, how it fosters an image of self-reliance impossible to replicate in the real world. But it's also very tangible. Speaking for my own home state of Arizona, there's no image more classic than a politician in a cowboy hat, right? Even if that politician just moved here from Kalamazoo. It goes beyond connecting with voters. It establishes a persona that allows them to leverage the myth for decisions they make. Mr. Cowboy isn't going to regulate big tech companies because this is the Wild West. Every man for himself. That's what we do around here, even if it betrays the common good. Okay, let's try to wrap this up. Hey, this is a weird time, right? You got all this distrust between the government and each other. You got wealth inequality out the wazoo. And honestly, like most quality of life measures don't look great. Why do so many people seem okay with it, though? I know many aren't, right? But even in that group, what percent feel like change is impossible or not even worth trying? I know we have institutional barriers to organization and building wealth. There's obviously this material difference in resource too, and masked agents are abducting people. But what scares me the most right now is Shark Tank. Even when we're not thinking about it, it's always there, signaling that if we just have a good enough idea, benevolent Mr. Wonderful may just lift us to nirvana. So what scares me are all these stories that divide us, right? Of crime-ridden cities or backwards flyover Trump country. What scares me are stories that paint a common enemy with martyrs or America first. Oh, and, of course, what scares me are the tech barons with algorithms that control our communications, even right here. And so Back to the Frontier is just, it's stupid. It's so out of touch with reality, and I think its innocence is, is kind of like offensive, I guess. You have all of these manufactured characters, cherry-picked problems, who spend hours and hours doing this sort of moral signaling.
We've got to take that forward to the 21st century and get to a space where everyone understands devices have a place in our lives, but devices are not our lives.
What are we talking about? Right, it's supposed to be like, what can we learn from a time when people could get free land? But does Magnolia Network realize that someone my age will probably not be able to buy a house ever? It just like, it reeks of this like desperate attempt to try and convince us of a vision of what America is supposed to be.
Who'd ever thought on the frontier we'd have some work-life balance?
I still want to be a businesswoman like I am back home.
It's so refreshing. You gotta make it fun, because life is not gonna be fun all the time, but if you make it fun, YOLO, like you only live once.
I wanted to talk about these two shows today because I think their contrast is a very helpful roadmap for how we can think or look critically at some of these ideas that we take for granted, right? Because Back to the Frontier isn't the only version of the frontier myth, right? How many times have you been sold an idea of exploring uncharted economic territory, right? By getting in on the ground floor of Bitcoin, of joining a multi-level marketing company, or even like getting a gig job on the side. Are any of those opportunity, right? Or autonomy? It's also not lost on me that despite this vision of the American frontier, Magnolia filmed in Canada. Now, Frontier House isn't perfect, right? It almost certainly is exploitative of family drama, and it's not like a one-to-one time capsule.
While Adrienne was inside trading her baked goods, the children sat down to watch television.
I thought it was pretty dumb how we got blamed for watching because it wasn't even worth watching it. It was just MTV. We watched 2 minutes of it, and I guess everyone thinks that we watched like an hour of it. Me and Anya are just doing this to save our family.
But what it is messy, complicated, contradictory. It's life. And for these folks, results were mixed.
But in 5 months in 1883, I got more satisfaction, more accomplishment, more appreciation than I did my entire career beforehand.
I have experienced depression here on the frontier. I've never been depressed before in my life. I've never had to deal with that before.
It's an unnatural life that the 21st century offers us. I think there's just too much. There's too much stimulus. The pace and the noise and the fluorescent lighting.
Their departure from Frontier Valley was bittersweet, right? It was kind of powerful because there is a lot of good there. At the same time, you always need to ask, like, okay, opportunity, but at what cost? Equity, but for whom? And I guess, like, I don't know, like, that's probably how we move forward, right? Like, actually learning from shit that happened in like a holistic sense. Because if we really wanted to build on what makes this country great, we probably wouldn't just look at individual government policies, right? We'd also look at the collective action that made anything possible in the first place. Income tax, corporate regulation, it didn't just happen. Neither did 40-hour work week or ending segregation, right? That came from the people. We're people, Gordon Clune is people. Anyway, I hope this was coherent. I just really want us to be more aware of the super subtle ways we are, like, kept at bay, kept satiated, even though things are not good, right? Because we do have the power to change things. There's only, 100 senators? Still a lot of questions, still a lot to learn, but hope you enjoyed watching this video. Thanks for making it all the way to the end. I don't know what we'll do next, but if you enjoy talking about, like, power dynamics and wealth inequality and media frames, stick around. See you soon.